I'm Justin Lyons, and welcome to my first ever Top 10 Movies. Today I have Top 10 Action Movies. First off, I just want to say that this is my Top 10, so you might not agree with it, but it's based on my opinions and what I think deserves it, so that's how I put together this Top 10. Today for my first one, I have Top 10 Action Movies. Now action movies are some of my favorite movies. I love comedies, I love dramas, I love all kinds of movies, but action movies are definitely some of my favorites, and I love watching them, I enjoy watching them. Maybe one of the most enjoyable genres of movies, and I just love them. These are some of my favorite movies too. So this was really close to me, a little hard to pick sometimes, so let's get going. First off, I'll always start with some honorable mentions, some that aren't going to make the top 10, but I'd still like to talk about, maybe just even a little, but they still deserve to be mentioned, even if they're not in my top 10. So my first honorable mention is RoboCop, the 1987 version, not the remake. RoboCop is just a movie, I love the action, I love the hero, and it's a movie that still stands up today, and I love to watch it. Next up is Face Off. It's John Travolta and Nick Cage, so how could you go wrong in there? I love the action, I love how this movie's put together, I love how the characters interact, really original storyline, and I love to watch it. Next is the entire original Bourne trilogy with Matt Damon. I love all three of them. Matt Damon really showed that he could do action, and nobody would doubt him from now on, and I really love these. I also want to mention The Rock, my favorite Michael Bay movie, and I think it's easily his best movie. Really just an enjoyable movie, very quotable, great cast, Ed Harris, Nick Cage, Sean Connery, can't go wrong there. Next up is The Avengers, a very, very well done superhero movie. Really showed that you could bring all these characters together on screen and make the audience love every single one just as much as they love the other. And my final honorable mention is the second Mad Max movie, The Road Warrior, starring Mel Gibson, of 1981. Just a very well directed, well done movie, really painting the picture of this character Max and why he's mad. Very few words from the main character, but it still has a lot of character development and really makes you feel for Max. So now that the honorable mentions are done, time to get into the top 10. At number 10 I have Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon is one of my favorite buddy cop movies. I love it. It has great action. It stars Mel Gibson and Danny Glover as Riggs and Murtaugh respectively, and they both just give awesome performances. The way that they both combat and play off of each other really delivers for a great movie. It's more of a real-life classic action that you can really just enjoy, keeps you on the edge of your seat, keeps you excited, makes you love watching it, and that's why Lethal Weapon is my number 10 action movie. At number 9, I have the original 1984 Terminator. It's directed by James Cameron and stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and Michael Biehn. Linda Hamilton probably gives my favorite female protagonist performance of all time as Sarah Connor. You see Sarah Connor go through a lot of progression through this movie. She starts the movie off not necessarily confident and courageous, but at the end you really see the character progression, and she is confident and courageous. Michael Biehn gives a great performance as Kyle Reese, a guy who's trying to protect Sarah Connor from the Terminator, and despite being human and the Terminator being a machine, he does a very good job of fighting the Terminator and protecting Sarah Connor. It makes for some great action. This movie has action and effects that still hold up today. When the Terminator and Kyle Reese come from the future, it's something that you could still see today, you can still enjoy today, and it's just a great movie. At number 8, I have Predator. Predator is directed by John McTiernan, not his last appearance on the list, and stars Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger actually gives a really good performance in this. I loved him in this, and I think it's one of his best performances of all time, even over the Terminator movies. Not to mention the way the action is shot, and just the intensity of this movie. It is a constant adrenaline thrill ride, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. It keeps the heart rate up and the blood pumping, and it's just everything you want to see in an action movie. It's so intense, and the score is beautiful. Just all around an incredible movie. At number 7, I have The Matrix. The Matrix is directed by the Wachowski brothers and stars Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Hugo Weaving, and it's just an all-around great movie. The action is well shot, the effects still hold up today, and I think it's Keanu Reeves' defining performance. He gives a great performance as Neo, and it's one that nobody will ever forget. It's always what he will be, and nobody else could play that role. Lawrence Fishburne is also incredible, teaching Keanu Reeves about the Matrix. You really see how they go deep into the Matrix and how the characters progress throughout the film. This is also probably my favorite performance from Hugo Weaving. He's incredible as Agent Smith, and it's exactly what you want to see from your antagonist. At first, there's no way the protagonist, Keanu Reeves as Neo, could have taken on Agent Smith, but as he goes through all the progressions in the movie, you see him slowly be able to have a chance against Agent Smith. Overall, it's a very good movie, with great effects, great directing, and great performances all around. Definitely deserves a spot on this list. At number 6, I have Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Directed by, of course, Steven Spielberg, starring Harrison Ford as the titular Indiana Jones. And you can't dislike Indiana Jones. He's one of the coolest characters. Harrison Ford plays Han Solo and Indiana Jones, two of the coolest movie characters. This movie had very well shot action. One thing that I liked about all three original Indiana Jones movies is that the hero is constantly in danger. You fear for his life. You never feel like, oh yeah, he'll be able to get out of this, just like most movie characters do. He's always in danger, and you always fear for him. He's not immortal. You know that any situation he's put in, he could possibly get hurt in. He could possibly get seriously hurt. It has great action, it's packed with adrenaline, and you can always expect great direction from Steven Spielberg. At number 5, I have kind of a newer movie from this year, Mad Max Fury Road. It might be a little too soon to call this the 5th best action movie of all time, but I really think it redefined action movies for today. We haven't had a very good action movie for a long time, I think since The Dark Knight, and this movie redefined it and said, this is how you shoot action, this is how action should be done, and I think it possibly has the most impact on the future of action movies. I think Tom Hardy picks up great where Mel Gibson left off as Max, does a great job even if he's not saying a ton of words, beautiful wide angles, practical effects, and despite the story not being all too complicated, it's still a great story and it works for the movie that it is. I couldn't talk about Mad Max Fury Road without talking about Charlize Theron as Furiosa. I really like Charlize Theron, I think she's a great actress, and she gets to showcase this in this. She gets to showcase her range as an action star. She does a very good job and almost steals the title away from Max. This movie is the breath of fresh air that we needed in action movies, and hopefully it'll impact action movies to come in the future. At number 4, we have what I think is one of the most enjoyable movies of all time. Always one of my go-to movies when I need something to watch. This is one that I turn to, Point Break. Kathryn Bigelow directs Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves in one of my favorite action-packed thrill rides. I love Point Break. The characters are fantastic, the way they play off each other is fantastic. I think Point Break is one of the most underrated action movies, and it's one of the most fun movies of all time. It's so quotable, every line, and you see these characters progress. You love both characters, and the characters are the driving force of the movie. This movie solidifies Keanu Reeves as an action star, as he has Speed coming up in 1994, and later The Matrix in 1999, even John Wick in 2014. This movie, I think, really started it for Keanu Reeves, being in action movies, and we have Point Break to thank for that. At number 3, I have Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is one of my personal favorite movies. I love to watch this movie. I watch it at least once a year. I love Christian Bale in this. Christian Bale is one of my favorite actors, and how can I go without talking about Heath Ledger's Joker? It's fantastic, it won Oscars, and I think it's the best performance of his career by far. To have a great superhero film, you need a great villain, and that's exactly what this brought to the table. Because with a great villain, that's how good the superhero needs to be. He needs to be better than the villain. In The Dark Knight, a top-notch villain brought a top-notch superhero with top-notch supporting cast, a top-notch director, and is just one of the best action movies of all time. At number 2, I have 1991's Terminator 2: Judgment Day. James Cameron's back from The Terminator, which I had at number 9, I thought was a fantastic movie. He outdid himself in this one. The Terminator 2 went so far as to knock off the top Terminator, in my opinion. I think it's a great action movie with effects that still stand up. Schwarzenegger versus the T-1000 make a really, really good combination. Linda Hamilton also does a very good job, as well as Edward Furlong as John Connor. Arnold Schwarzenegger once again gives a great performance as the Terminator. He almost acts as a father figure to John Connor, and you can see the relationship, and it actually really works. From the villain in the first movie, he goes to the hero in this movie, and you love him, and you want to connect with him, you want to know him, and you want this guy to be riding around with you. You want him on your side. Whether he's the strongest or he's not the strongest, you know he's going to protect you and give it his all. This movie is very well directed, with some of the best action, some of the best effects that we don't even see today. I love Terminator 2, and that's why it's number 2. Finally, at number 1, I have Die Hard. Die Hard pits your everyman, John McClane, against terrorists. John McClane is a character that you want to succeed, you want to connect with, and you are able to connect with him because he's just an average guy. He's an everyday guy who is smart, and he's capable, and he knows what he's doing. He's got some experience, but he really does a good job fighting these terrorists. This is Bruce Willis' career-defining performance, John McClane. It's one of the most quotable action movies. It's got such great acting, such great action, and for me, it is the best action movie of all time. Between this and Predator, I think John McTiernan really displayed that he knows action. I think this movie, not necessarily just for action movies, laid groundwork for what characters should be. John McClane is constantly in danger, you fear for his life, you're always on the edge of your seat, and you just love him. So that's going to do it for today. I'm Justin Lyons. That was my top 10 action movies. Stay tuned in the channel, follow me on Twitter, subscribe. If you want to see more movie reviews, I should have a top 10. My next top 10, I'm hoping to do top 10 comedies. So please subscribe so you can check out my new videos, and thank you for watching.